We all love success stories, don't we? Take Facebook, for example. It's an astounding success, and Mark Zuckerberg surely deserves the praise and recognition he gets for turning a hot or not dorm room stunt into a company worth almost $350 billion today. No doubt it hasn't all been smooth the whole way for Mark, but he hasn't ever known what it's like to fix something. The success stories, of course, we love the most are the reversals, the against all odds turnarounds, the transformations where a visionary leader took a company others had given up for dead and magically made it great again. It's why we're so captivated by and inspired by Steve Jobs, for example, and what he did at Apple. It's also why I've been looking so forward to this panel, because today we're lucky enough to have with us 4 CEOs who are leading transformations of their own. They all run what we're calling legacy, and I put it in air quotes, companies with histories that stretch back decades, and in 2 of the 4 cases on this stage today, companies with more than a century of history. Companies that make things and provide services we will still want and need decades from now: electronics installation, casual clothing, soup, crackers, soft drinks, beer, and of course my favorite, whiskey.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
On my far left, Takeshi Ninama of Suntory. On my immediate left, Denise Morrison of Campbell's Soup. On my immediate right, Federica Marchione of Land's End. And finally, Hubert Joly of Best Buy. They're going to teach us about transforming a legacy company. Now, as we all know, transformation implies change from one thing to another. In some cases, of course, it's a clean break. In others, it's evolutionary. Each of these CEOs took over companies at different stages, some already on the way up, some at rock bottom. In order to understand how and why they're transforming the companies they run, we need to know what they started with. So panelists, please share with us the situations you encountered upon taking over as CEO and why you recognized that transformation wasn't just possible, but necessary for your companies to thrive for decades to come. And I'm going to begin with Hubert Joly of Best Buy.
Thank you, Eric. So Best Buy was founded in 1966 as the Sound of Music, and it is a company that had enormous success up until the middle of the year 2000, grew up to, in the US, about 1,500 stores, $50 billion in revenue, killed a lot of people around them, including Circuit City. So really very successful company up until that point. Then what happened is that it started to go sideways, maybe complacency, distraction from a number of international strategies. And so in 2012, which is when I joined the company, we were facing probably the all-you-can-eat menu of challenges. So we had strategic challenges. We were being challenged by online players, in particular Amazon, the vertical integration of some of the vendors, so Apple opening stores. There was some leadership challenges. My predecessor left the company under questionable circumstances. Shareholder challenges. Our founder, Dick Schultz, had left the board and was trying to take the company private. And then operational challenges. Candidly, our quality of service, the execution, which is so important in retail, had gone down. So a lot of my friends in Minneapolis, where I lived at the time, when they learned I was joining Best Buy, thought I was suicidal, right? And yet, oops, I don't know what I'm doing with this. That's dead, okay.
We need the Geek Squad.
We need the Geek Squad. Where's the Geek Squad?
Where is the Geek Squad?
It's right here. The Geek Squad is right here. Thank you, you saved me. And so how did I recognize there was something? So before taking the job, I did some due diligence. And what you were reading at the time, we were supposed to die, right? Because the internet was taking over. Showrooming was the phenomenon. People were visiting our stores, and then they were going to buy the products online. And so we were going to die. What I recognized is that we had huge assets, a huge customer base. The stores were, and maybe we talk about it later, but it proved to be an asset because you actually need the place where to showcase the technology. And so if you can capture the sale, then it's a productive thing. We had these relationships with the world's foremost tech companies that we could leverage. And so that was this diagnosis was the basis for the turnaround. And then it led us to take some meaningful measures. So if you're asked, who killed showrooming in the US? We did, right? Because we now have prices that are the same as Amazon. We match Amazon prices. So we've killed showrooming. And we match, the blue shirts in the stores can immediately match the prices. So Then we embarked upon improving the customer experience and doing these partnerships with the vendors that I'm sure we'll go back to. But in terms of the situation at the time, mother of all crisis, or the all-you-can-eat menu of all crisis, and some real assets at the time.
Federica, what did you encounter at Land's End, and how did you recognize the need for transformation?
Well, first of all, good morning, everyone. I inherited a fantastic company with an amazing legacy, and we will talk about the fact that legacy is not negative. It's actually, for us, the biggest asset we have. So I'm very proud, and I was very humble to go into this big corporation of great people. But of course, the business was stable and declining for part of it, especially the e-commerce part. And the reason why it was declining was because there were no changes made in the past, and certain choices that were probably hard to make because the business was stable enough. But the goal is to unlock full potential. This company has an amazing platform to which build a global business. And so the work that I'm doing, and that I did the first day I came in the job, was to understand what made Land's End so amazing. Where were the pivot points where the company was growing, and I studied a lot the archive, not just the data, the financial data, of course, and the marketing data, to understand our customer base, to understand which were our strength and our weakness. And I realized that there were some weakness and there were some inefficiencies that we needed to fix. And I worked very hard this year that I'm in the job to make sure we had a plan, which I presented to the board in the first board meeting in April.
Denise, how about you? You had been at, unlike the other three here, you had been at Campbell's.
Yes, since 2003, yeah.
Right, so what did you find? Surely there were some things that you had to have been comfortable with, given the fact that you were at the company, but there were other things you recognized the need to change.
Yes. Well, first of all, Campbell's is a 147-year-old company, and I say it has good bones. But we were in decline when I took the helm as CEO. And for a lot of the reasons that my colleagues have talked about, there was a complacency. There was also this is what we know how to do, so we're going to keep doing it. In the meantime, if you can put up slide 1, the world had changed. And I say that the food industry is in a revolution. And you can, when you have all this change, you can either lead change or be a victim of it. It's much more fun to lead it. So we literally went to school on what are the seismic shifts that are going on, and how can we look at the capabilities of our company and adjust to those. So the first was global economic realignment, where we had a declining middle class in the United States and a burgeoning middle class in emerging markets. And we were largely a developed market company. So setting our sights on how do we expand in the emerging markets was a big idea. Demographic shifts. You have the baby boomers who are our core customers, but then you had this enormous 80 million population of millennials coming through the pipe, and we didn't understand them. So we went to school on them, and we started to make products and look at products that they wanted to eat. There was also a consumer shift in the preferences for health and well-being, in fresh foods, in natural and organic foods. And we quite frankly, in the past couple of years, made acquisitions to bring some of those kinds of foods into our portfolio. And we're partnering with other entrepreneurs, such as Juicero and in Project Acre, to understand the new world of food and how Campbell's can work with those entrepreneurs to bring wonderful things to consumers. And then the digital shift. digital technology is affecting the way we communicate with consumers, but also the e-commerce part of it is the way we sell and market and work with our customers. So that had to change. And so we've got different teams against that right now. And then finally, sustainability. We really believe that we're responsible for our communities and for our planet and the resources that we all share, and making sure that becomes part of our work and not just an extracurricular activity. And I can tell you, any one of these shifts in and of itself is enormous, but put them all together and you have the perfect storm. But you also have the perfect opportunity, and that's what we seized.
Tak, like Denise, you run a company that's more than 100 years old. When you came to Suntory, why did you recognize the need for transformation?
First of all, Japanese market is not has the bright future because two reasons. One, declining population. Second is aging population, which means for food industry, it's not bright. So we decided to go global, and we acquired Beam, paying as much as $16 billion 2 years ago. And that means Suntory has been very successful in Japan and dominant in beverage and alcohol business for many years, which means a huge success, very domestic, multi-domestic, which means how to transform to global and fit into the global arena. That's a huge challenge. And that's a great challenge. I'm glad that I came to Suntory. But how to change the mindset of the people to be fitted for global competition? And we have complacency because we are the number one in Japan, which doesn't mean we are number one in the world. So, but how to bring in the good people, how to enjoy the diverse ideas, that's a challenge.
I'm hearing that word complacency more than once. If you go to Silicon Valley, legacy is used pejoratively, but it doesn't have to be a bad word. All of these CEOs took over companies with identities, with values, deep customer relationships, products and or services that many people loved, and brands, of course, that had real value. What's the right balance between the past and the future? How do you know when you found it? And what's the secret to maintaining it? I'm going to go back to you, Denise, because few more symbols are more familiar to Americans than the iconic red and white of the Campbell Soup label.
Okay, it's a very interesting balance to strike. And if you could put up slide 3, what we did was we talked about we needed to build on the past to create the future, because you have to respect the legacy of your past and all of the good things about the company that you don't want to lose. And this company was very rich in values and in agricultural roots, vegetable and plant nutrition, and quite frankly, some of the capabilities of the people were pretty extraordinary. They just needed to be redirected and leadership. So what we did was we set up a purpose, real food that matters for life's moments, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But to answer this question, we felt we had to strengthen our core business and at the same time expand into faster growing spaces. So in strengthening our core business, what we focused on was real food. And what does that mean? Today, consumers want to know what's in their food, how's it made, where is it grown? They want to know ingredients, and they want to understand it better. So the transparency that you could bring to food is something that we believe will set Campbell's apart. Also, digital and e-commerce. That's not just for the new things. That's for the existing core business. And expanding into faster growing spaces for us was all about fresh and health and well-being. We acquired Bolthouse Farms. We acquired Plum Organic Baby Food. We acquired Garden Fresh Gourmet. And we reorganized the company and built a $1 billion Campbell Fresh business, in addition to our America's Simple Meals and Beverage business. And then what we did was we put Pepperidge Farm, Arnott's Cookies, and Kelsen, which was also a new acquisition, together and formed a $2.7 billion global biscuits and snacks business to go after the developing market expansion that we felt we had to achieve. But the underpinning of all of this was to make sure we were building a high-performance organization, and that was paying attention to our talent and our culture and transforming the way we work. So this simple framework is something that everyone at Campbell's now can connect to, whether you're in a core business, whether you're in a new business, whether you're in a developing market or a developed market, and it brings the whole company together with one point of focus for the future.
I'm fascinated by this idea of balancing the past and the future. Who else wants to
Well,
share some ideas?
in our case, it's interesting. When you have a turnaround case, so back in 2012, if you remember, people thought we were going to die. And I became the CEO on September 4th. You know, the founder had sent a letter to the board about the offer he wanted to make. You are under enormous pressure. You have the holiday season coming up. In my book, in a turnaround, you actually don't start with a strategy. In our case, we started by improving what we had and getting the organization back on track, back in the game, putting it under attention. So the key actions for us was change the team, get the right team. You know, my approach to change management is to change management, and so we had to do that. Take some initial measures such as the price match guarantee, remobilize the employees with, you know, the previous team had canceled the employee discounts, so the blue shirts were very disenchanted. So, and in our business, the quality of service, the engagement of the blue shirts in the store is fundamental, so re-engaging them was important. And then there was this deal they did with Samsung, enabling stores within the stores for Samsung, Apple at their own stores. The choice for Samsung was to do the same as Apple, which would have been devastating for us, or do it in our stores. So there was some, you know, uncovering of operational levers. Quick action, taking $1 billion of cost out was helpful to reinvest in the price competitiveness and the quality of service. And so I told the team when I joined, you know, we're not going to do strategy first. We're going to improve what we have, get the organization back on track. It's the bicycle theory. A bicycle that's at standstill is very difficult to direct. You know, you fall, and you have to get the bicycle going and take some, you know, even if it's not going exactly in the right direction, you can always adjust. So that's the view of the past and the future. It's also the present, so the immediacy of the action. And then you underwrite, you know, back in 2013 when we had, you know, positive comps or flat comps during holiday, and we had these partnerships, we earned the right then to think about the future. So that's how we thought about it.
Is that, I mean, a necessary precondition for transformation, improving what you start with?
Absolutely, yes. The core business is what makes you who you are.
But at the same time, surely you want to leap forward, right?
Yes, and we need to, if we can also, I have also a few slides to share with you. If we can put our first slide, you can see that in my time, as soon as I arrived, I really immediately saw that the strength of the company was really the core business, and we needed to just reinvigorating the loyal passion, because any person that speak about and speak with passion. And I believe that everything starts with passion. But what you are is what the people perceive you are. So when you ask people, the first things they say about Lansane is quality. The quality is our first element, and I wanted to make sure that everything we do, we don't compromise this element. It's a key element of our offer. And it's not just quality in terms of product, but quality of work and quality of being good with the community, and we'll see later what we're trying to do to reinforce that, and value. So in everything we do, we want to bring to the customer a fair price to the product, to the customer, and we choose multi-generational family to show them our closeness to a lifestyle that is not just a single product. We are known for different products, among which the outerwear or the swimwear, but we want to bring more the lifestyle concept. And we are known for our service. The customer service is one of the best in the country. we were the #1 company that introduced the toll-free number, so no wonder why we are really well known for this service. So the service, the warmth, the way, the connection, the human touch, and that were the roots. And we had this American icon company that it is an iconic company, and the goal is to elevate, transform this company into a global brand.
Maybe, Eric, the answer to your question may be that it's a combination. That, you know, respecting the past, for us, reconciling with our founder and respecting the values of the past was important. Dealing with the present, because when you have the crisis, you have no choice. You need to show that you're going to exist. And then you need immediately to lean forwards. So in our case, of course, we invested in digital, in e-commerce. It's growing very fast. In investing in the customer experience, investing in supply chain. And so you have to move forward. But I think it's the combination. If you forget one of the components, it's probably incomplete.
And you have to be authentic. You know, you have to be authentic. You can't be something that you are not, because consumers will see right through that. And so, you know, going back to what has made you a wonderful company is an important idea.
One of the hardest things to balance, surely, when you're respecting the past and looking forward to the future is your company's culture. And I want to turn to Tak here because, as I mentioned, you came to Suntory from the outside, from the convenience store industry, but you were also the first president of the company who didn't come from the founding family. And furthermore, you had an American education, a Harvard MBA. Tell us why that balance is so important to maintain.
That's a great question. I came from outside, which means I can find the legacy as well as the future opportunity. And I found the core value of Suntory, which is great. The first of all, founding spirit. Always innovative and do not copy others, and try to be improved constantly its quality and go back to society, spending almost $100 million every year to CSR and creating shared value. So that's a huge amount of money. That's a great thing. That motivates all people working together. The key thing is how to instill that core value to all entities around the world. We have more than 10, 12 companies around the world, including the one which we acquired quite recent. But it's pretty difficult to instill the core value. In the meantime, what is the challenge is, again, diverse ideas to the very simple culture, which comes from a 100-year legacy. So how to match between the new challenge and the legacy? But I just take the core value and then bring in the diverse talents. That's a challenge.
How do you take those core values, so elemental to a Japanese company started before the turn of the 20th century, and transpose them to Jim Beam?
Yeah,
How
that's
do you
right.
do that?
Well, that's two ways. One, through the corporate university, I founded the Suntory University, just like G's style. And second is exchange of talents. Both need a lot of time, and we should not be in a hurry to transform. And plus, this is a kind of long journey. It's not short term. So we are not soaked by the short-termism. I'm from a public listed company before, and the huge difference of Suntory legacy is long-term rented, which means family-owned. I have to leverage the entity's identity, which is family-owned still, and there's no plan to list the company. That's why we can be global, and that's why we can instill the core value toward the integration of the transformation of our company toward the global.
Denise, you've done acquisitions yourself, faced similar challenges. How do you, let's tackle a couple of the points Tak made. How do you take what you hold dear in cultural terms and again apply it to a new company and get other people to feel the same way? And furthermore, as a public company, how do you fight the pressures short-termism.
Right. If you go to slide 2, I would say, as CEO, the most fundamental change that's happened at Campbell's was what was ignited from our company purpose. And what I did was I took people cross-company, cross-business units, cross-function from the new companies that we bought from our core businesses and put them together. And purpose is something you carry in your heart. You don't hire an agency to do it. It's in your heart, and you've got to pull it out, and you've got to validate it with consumers to make sure that you're not just talking to yourself. But what we found is when we talked about whether we work for Bolthouse Farms or work for Campbell's or work for Pepperidge Farm, people had a story about the brand in their moments, in their life's moments. And it was so genuine, and we felt that was really unique. And so real food that matters for life's moments became a bonding purpose, whether we were in a core company or part of the company or a new part of the company, that everyone in the culture gravitated to. This has fundamentally changed the behavior. You could knock me over with a feather in terms of how much. I mean, we used to talk about shipping cases. That's still important. But we're talking about our food, what's in the cases. You know, is it food we'd be proud to serve our own families? Is it affordable for people?
How do you get employees to think like that? How do you incentivize them to think differently so that it's not just a matter of counting cases?
Yeah, I didn't have to incentivize them. What happened was this gripped them emotionally. They felt this was really, really important work. See, a purpose is, why are we doing what we're doing? What's the higher order reason? For the reason we spend so much time working. And if you can give people that, and actually I didn't even give it to them. They came up with them themselves. Give them the freedom to articulate that and then to behave their way into it. The company can do extraordinary things. And it's the people of Campbell's now that are taking the company to new heights. And what we did, we did reorganize the company once we made these acquisitions, and we've created category divisions instead of geographic divisions, and we offered a voluntary incentive for retirement-eligible people. And a lot of them took it, and thanked me very much for that, by the way, because it was a way of respecting people's service to the company. But what it did, it changed the composition of the workforce. And now I have more Generation Xers and millennials in my company than boomers. And that's having a profound impact. So the population shift, coupled with the purpose, is taking Campbell's to new heights.
Yeah, let me comment about the big national brand you have. And we have Jim Beam. And we are talking about millennials to attract it's really hard for us to attract because carrying the national big brand. And the Campbell Soup is a really big brand. We share the same issue to attract the millennials who like, good story behind. It's like, environmental issues, social context. What do you do with the millennials?
Yeah, well, we index about 85% on core Campbell Soup with millennials. That's not zero. But there's a 15% opportunity just to get to the average. And so what we've done is we've come out with Campbell's Organic Soup. We've engaged millennials. I mean, I had my team go out and live with them, shop with them, work with them. They even went to pop-up bars with them. They had so much fun, I couldn't get them to come back to work. But they really understood them. And we came back and we said, instead of saying, this is what we make, we want you to buy it, it's, what do you want to eat? And we will make that for you. Or taking a wonderful brand like Jim Beam, and what are the occasions that millennials would enjoy that incredible brand? So a different mindset. It turns it on its ear a little bit.
Yeah, well,
I think there's a difference between culture in terms of the core values of the company that has always been there. So being customer focused, being entrepreneurial. Difference between that, the skills you have at a moment in time based on your business model. So at some point, Best Buy was a big box retailer and very good at that. And then forward-looking, what is the purpose, which has to be rooted in what the customers want and what you're going to stand for going forward. And disassembling these three things is really important because you don't want to change the core values of the company. You probably want to change the skills in support of the forward-looking purpose.
Yes.
So that's one way to think about it for us.
What I can suggest is that if we can go also on my slide 3, it is very important between the past and the future that we will see
This slide?
later. No, the number 3, please. Thank you.
Number 3.
So the last one.
There.
If it's easier. Now, this is the second one, which is the future.
Next one.
The next one, please.
There we go.
Thank you very much. So the one thing that is important for the culture is that the culture is the identity, and it's crucial for your success long term. And in my case, first of all, I joined Land's End. One of the reasons why I joined Land's End was really because of their culture. And what the founder created, which was a very big philanthropic person, and he was connected to the land. He was an activist, environmentalist. So I took actually those elements that was already in the DNA and amplify the work that was already done. So I created the first project in April. I joined the company in mid-February, and in April, it was a great occasion because on Earth Day, April 22nd, the Governor Nelson, back in the 70s, from Wisconsin, created this movement of Earth Day, which became global. So it was an amazing opportunity for us to say, this is something that is very close to us, because of the founder, because of the Wisconsin heritage, and because our name is Land's End. So we need to take care of the land and where the land ends. So last year, we made a promise to plant 1 million trees. And this year, for every order that we receive, we send 1 tree. And we say, you plant, we plant. So we also plant a tree. So maintaining the promise of becoming more sustainable and to give to the millennials and also to our loyal customer, there was an amazing initiative that every customer, past and future.
I want to understand, though, a little bit more about how you go from maintaining to transforming. In your case, you're taking a company that didn't sell a dress for more than $100, right? And turning it into, going upmarket, turning it into a luxury brand.
Oh, no. This is actually one of the challenge that I'm facing, a wrong preconception, because I come from luxury now.
I'll just remind everybody, Federica came from Dolce & Gabbana.
Yes, and but you know what? In my past, I started my career in technology, and I was my first job was at Samsung.
Exactly.
Yes, so when you were talking about yes, and I'm still in contact with my boss, who is now in Korea, and I met him there, and then Philips, and then Ericsson, and then I met the designers, Dolce & Gabbana, on a business trip. And so fashion for me was kind of an accident. And most importantly, when I went in Dolce & Gabbana, there was a huge preconcept that because I was coming from a consumer market, I have no clue on the luxury business. Now I feel exactly the opposite. The people think that I have no an understanding, but my career was a non-obvious career path. Everything that I did was always to enter as a kind of a McKinsey executive and understanding what I could do to fix anything that needed to be fixed and build value. So that is the point. So most importantly, first of all, we do have already in Land's End dresses that are more than $100. So under 39.
Are you wearing it today?
I'm wearing everything about new line that we will talk about it before. But as I told you, of course, I'm always wearing it.
Of course. This was a free infomercial for you. So.
Well, but I believe in it, most importantly. Yeah. And this is, I lead with example, not just with purpose. So I would like that also everybody will become brand ambassadors. But so my point was not to change the price point. That's the best way to respect your customer. It's not to change what it's working. So I didn't touch the offer that are the best product that are sold at the best price, so from the $29, the $49, the $89, those are still there. And not only that, but more than 90% of our offer is basically what the customer found so far. And they found a variety of product and sizing. In Land's End, everyone can find a piece. The tall, the petite, we have also the plus size. We have everything, but we miss something. And what we missed was what is called the international fit. Especially if we wanted to go global, we needed a fit that can apply to a younger generation and more appealness to the brand and an increased design to the product. But I couldn't do it in the name of Land's End only. So why? Because I didn't want to change anything, again, that was working. What I'm doing is adding new consumer. So now we can actually go to my slide 2 if I have one more minute to explain what I'm doing. I added a new line that is called Canvas by Land's End, and this is the line I'm wearing, which it is a way to recruit the new generation of fan. And that's very crucial because what I noticed when I arrived, that the age of our consumer is not as broad as our lifestyle product offer is. So we have students that are dressed by the Land's End uniform or the Land's End product, up to 12, 13 years old, until the mother decides what to wear. When they start to choose their own clothes and they ask the mother what to wear, they walk away from our brand. So, and they return to our brand. This is, of course, a generic assessment, but around the time when we are parent again. So all this gap of age is an opportunity. And it's even more an opportunity because there are many mothers that are already in my website. They are shopping for their kids, but they were not shopping for themselves. And so I am offering them a product, but again, first of all, fair price. And if a price for a dress in Land's End is around $100 or under $39, in this case will be $129, $169. So it's still a fair price with a much different fabric and different construction.
I want to ask you about resistance to change, because while we can all embrace the idea that change is good, there's inevitably some resistance to attack. Why don't you tell us about the resistance to change that you encountered in your efforts to transform Suntory and how you overcame it?
That depends on time horizon we are talking about. Again, we are a private company, and we should not be in a hurry to change all of a sudden from domestic to the super global company. It's not the objective, and but there is a huge resistance. Because of the still domestic market is very important. It's growing. It's growing, and we are making a lot of profits from the domestic market as well. Having said that, how to change is very important, and gradually I promoting exchange of talents. For example, from Jim Beam, Beam Suntory, from Orangina, which we acquired in the past 2 or 3 years ago. And the key thing is always exchange talents. And plus, again, how to incentivize, because especially from the difference in terms of compensation is a huge issue, because I'm talking about the long-term and short-termism. In the United States, from our standard, very short. And Japanese style, very long. Talking about the lost in translation made by the Francis Coppola's daughter. So how to match up the compensation scheme?
Can you give us the commercial, the Suntory commercial in that movie? I'd love to hear it from you.
That's right. So compensation issues are very important, and how to match up, and that's a huge challenge. We can't find the easy solution yet.
I just want to make the reference clear for those who don't know, Lost in Translation is a movie by Sofia Coppola, and it's really about Bill Murray filming a
That's right.
Suntory commercial. Because
Yeah,
bringing foreign celebrities...
We want to hear it. We want to hear
Yeah.
it.
For relaxing times, make it Suntory time.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Hubert. Thank you very much.
When you talk about huge resistance to change, do you think that's more a function of Suntory's legacy, or is it more a function of Japanese corporate culture?
Both, as a matter of fact, because Suntory represents the Japanese culture. Because, seniority system, lifetime employment, it's good to create always good quality products because R&D and production, constant improvement, which is called the Kaizen, we call. That needs a long-term commitment. So that's why Japanese manufacturing is a competitiveness in the world. Having said that, how to make things happen globally, successful. So that's how to reconcile is always the issue, and I think that's a challenge, and that's why I mentioned the time horizon, and we have the big plan to 2020 from the current EBITDA $3.5 billion to $6 billion. We have to have the huge step. And that's why we are here in the United States, which is the biggest emerging economy in the world.
Right.
So that's why we required BIM Suntory spending as much as $16 billion. So, and the acquisition made a huge incentive, stimulative effect to the domestic troops of Suntory Holdings. So acquisition means a lot. I mean, cross-border acquisition means a lot to us to change the culture, to get rid of the resistance.
I think there is, Eric, at least in our case, two phases. Where it's been a matter of improving the operational performance of the existing business, the approach to change management was in the end not that complicated. You had to get the right team in place. And then I have this other phrase, which is the way you change...
Change management is change management.
Yes, the way you change management is to change management. And the other one is the way you change behaviors is by changing behaviors. So if you improve an existing business, it's a bit brute force, you do it. In our next phase of our transformation, it's a bit different. Because we're trying to invent a company that's really very relevant to today's consumers. So we've had to go back to what are the customer problems we're trying to fix. And in the case of technology, I think we can all relate to this. There's a ton of technology innovation. It's very exciting. But there's this big gap between what technology can do and what we know how to do with it. And then you need to make it work. It's all interconnected. And so there's a big role for a company that can make it easy for customers to learn about and then enjoy the technology. That's a set of skills and processes that's very different from a mass retailer. And so you almost need to invent a new company. And the approach we're pursuing today is really through incubation. So we've created a strategic growth office because we found as a management team that if we ask the existing leaders in their day-to-day job to completely reinvent the model, it was not working because when you're running a $40 or $50 billion company, there's so much activity, you don't have enough focus and skills applied to that. So we're incubating. So as an example, we have a very exciting, pilot in one of our markets, which I bet some of you might be interested in participating in, which is, we'll go to your home to uncover your needs and your problems and what you need. So we call it an in-home advisor program. When instead of just doing the transaction in the store, we understand your walls, your technology, your legacy technology, and then we'll create the solution for you. That's a completely different business model. It's going from selling products to selling solutions, going from conducting transactions to building relationships. Very significant transformation. So when the degree of transformation is high, it's hard to make that change happen in the core business. And we found, at least our approach is to try to do it on the side, incubate it, and then scale it as a second phase.
And when you change business models that dramatically, what you realize is that what got you here won't get you there.
Yeah.
So it requires a relook at some of the skill sets and competencies in the organization. And I'll tell you, I had to go through a whole evaluation of what's the difference between resistance to change and being risk averse, and then what's the difference between trying to teach people how to do new things versus bringing in and accelerating change with new capabilities from the outside. And so I literally changed my whole leadership team. And that was pretty dramatic. And then we made lots of changes with the people in the organization. But we gave people a chance to step up. But there are some people that just don't want to change. And you don't have the patience or the time to wait for them to come around. And I'm not being hardcore here, but I think you got to give people a chance, but then they have to make a choice.
And then you have to
it's
encourage
very
risk.
interesting.
So here is what we are giving to all of our executives at the company. It's a get out of jail free card.
Yeah, there you go.
We want to, one of the things I said to the team at the beginning of the year is the biggest risk we have is to not take enough risk at this point in our transformation. Right. So for as long as the actions are in line with the strategy, for as long as they're not illegal, immoral, or unethical, and they're not completely crazy, I want people to take risk. And so everybody carries this, and people are not actually going to use it because they're not going to take that much risk. But you do have to encourage, in that phase, more risk-taking.
Exactly.
Well, in my case, I took a more challenging path because I wanted to protect the community. Since we're based in a small village where there are less than 5,000 people, so it is very important that the community felt protected, and I was not going and coming and changing all the people or scaring the team that they will probably not have a job the next day. So I made sure that the team was feeling strong, that we were going to do this transformation together. I always say that I want one team. We needed to be competitive with the external competitors, and inside we needed to have a very cooperative approach and helping each other to make things happen and make that transformation happen with the cooperation of all the people. I needed to talk a lot with my team. And in the same way I'm doing to balance the past and the future, I also did in my team to add new management, and that was the thing that I'm still doing, but not too many people. We needed to have some innovation, so both in basically in the product and in the marketing. I just hired another head of innovation for the digital and technology to improve in that area. So it was important that for them they feel secure and we can do the change together with an additional people, and they need to embrace those people. This is what I'm trying to make happen.
Yes, please. I mentioned talent of exchange of talent from, for example, people at the Jim Beam comes to Tokyo office, and the people at Suntory tends to be a lifetime employment, which means all
Still.
Right. But at first, resistance existed, but over 2 years, they started to feel, people from Jim Beam are just like us. So I just got rid of kind of fear toward the big change, huge change. So definitely, we have to continue the talent exchange for Suntory Holdings toward the change. And the change is not the fear. Change is good for us to get some new ideas. And we have to create the environment to absorb new ideas toward the transformation.
I want to pick up on the point that was made about hiring, because it's important.
Right.
All of you were hired to effect change. And poll you on this idea. If you were looking for, are the skills and qualities that make for a successful leader of a legacy company? Hubert, if you were recruiting your successor today, what would you be looking for?
I'm not recruiting my successor today.
That's why I asked it in the subjunctive, right?
What I can talk about is the talent, how we've built a team. Because I do believe today at Best Buy we have an amazing leadership team. Part of it is people who had been at the company for a long time. We have 2 or 3 individuals who were on the executive team for a long time. We've promoted people from within, and we've brought people from the outside. I think the leadership skills you need in a transformation, you need a lot of energy. And you need leaders who are able to create energy, that believe that energy is not a finite resource, and that you can, in particular, we have 125,000 people at our company. I was with our best salespeople in Orlando yesterday and the day before. The energy and the engagement is critical to the success. You need people who have a strong bias for action. One of my beliefs is that the difference between the greatest leaders and good leaders is not the quality of their decision, it's the quantity of their decisions. Right? Because all of us are smart, and you need to make a lot of decisions. Now, we're not in a very capital-intensive business, so we're not building jet engines. That's different. But in our business, a lot of actions and get the bicycle moving is really important. You need people who have a sense of optimism, meaning who see the opportunity and can rally people around them. In our business, of course, collaboration is important. And then you need a mix of skills. Both legacy skills, meaning, and nothing wrong with legacy in many areas, but also new types of skills. So supply chain was really critical for us. Digital was really important. Services with the Geek Squad, really making the Geek Squad what it can be, was really important to us. So these were some of the skills.
How about you, Federica? Yeah. If you were looking for your replacement,
well, first of all, I will be very happy to find someone else, because the way I always work was to make sure that the machine worked without me. And that's, to me, the best way to lead a company. When you are able to have every single department be very strong, and you can even disappear, they can still run, that's, to me, the best legacy that I can leave in the company. And so that means also that I, in a way, finish my term. What I will suggest to anyone who is looking for a transformation leader is to find someone that, yes, embrace the culture of that company. And that was, as I said, my number one element that made me decide to really join Lansand. And someone who can see what is the future, what that company can become on a long term, so have a vision and be very strong, because especially in our case, in this moment, the market is so tough. And if you look at your numbers, especially in the first year where you cannot really impact anything, and in our case, we are a public company, so everything is in front of the people, and you need time to make sure that everything you're doing is working. And so you have to be 10 times stronger than any single leader. And a leader that transforms is not a manager. A great manager can manage situation. He needs to be able to, yes, have a lot of energy, have a lot of passion, be connected to the employees and to the consumer, and to create the future of the company.
Denise,
mine is more of a build, because a lot of the characteristics have been brought up. But what I look for is a purpose-driven leader who is passionate, that can leverage the scale and capabilities of the large company, however, have the soul and the agility of a startup. And I think if you can combine those two things, magic happens.
Hard to find.
But it isn't really hard to find if you're really looking for it, because those people are out there, and they're all over the state of California.
So, Tack, to you, what do you look for if you were to hire your successor? What would you be looking for in that person?
I would say 3 factors. 1, evangelist of the core value, which comes from the founding spirit, which I mentioned earlier. 2, he or she should have the grasp the big picture of the world, because we seek to be globally competitive. Third, accept the diverse diversity, because that creates innovation, and which is related to the always motivation of the people working for Suntory Group companies. So 3 factors.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think we've learned quite a lot about how to transform a legacy company, what skills and qualities are required in a leader, how to preserve the past while celebrating the future, how to tackle tough decisions, and of course, how to be relevant to a world that is undergoing tremendous transformation and to appeal to that ethereal millennial. I'd like you to join me in thanking our panelists, Hubert Joly, Federica Marchione, Denise Morrison, and Tak Niinami.